guests from Linwood Elementary are here today to share some fantastic news with us. Welcome to School Talk. I'm Terren Roloff, and joining us today are Linwood Principal Gina Naccarato-Keele.
Hey, Terren.
Literacy Coach Linda Sams.
Hello.
Math Coach Jan Erickson.
Hi.
And Superintendent Dr. Nancy Stowell. So, Dr. Stowell, we're here today to talk about the fact that Linwood came off the AYP list for 2 consecutive years. Why don't you explain what that all means?
Well, I think that's pretty phenomenal. That shows lots of very hard work, very dedicated work, very focused work in literacy and mathematics. AYP is a federal measure. Adequate Yearly Progress is a federal measure of student success in our schools. And while we've had many schools who've ultimately been identified for not meeting adequate yearly progress, it's really hard for a school to come back from that. And so we really have been celebrating what Linwood's been able to do. It's been amazing that you've been able to do that, and I'm kind of really interested in hearing what the story is behind that.
So Gina, let's hear the story behind that.
Yeah, how did you do it?
So Linwood has worked really hard on 2 things for the last 3 years. We've worked extremely hard on powerful teaching in the classroom, so really what instructional best practices need to happen in the classroom for our kids to achieve well. The second thing we've really worked on is looking at data and making sure that we have data-driven dialogues continually so that we're not just focusing on classrooms but individual students, and making instructional plans for those students that teachers can deliver during the workshop model time by differentiating instruction and working one-on-one and in small group. So the instructional work, coaches have worked really hard with teachers. Teachers have been very open to new learning. We had the opportunity to send 90% of our teachers to the district-offered Math Lab Institute.
Oh, you
and
did.
We did.
Yeah.
And when they came back, they were able to observe the workshop model in action at a grade level that they taught. So when they came back, they really implemented those strategies. We also made sure we've done a lot of professional development around the 90-minute literacy time and the 90-minute math block, and actually talking about the components of those 90 minutes. What should be happening in the classroom so that our kids can achieve and meet standards? And we actually revised our school improvement plan and put those in our school improvement plan, so it's clear to all parties of what's going on in classrooms. And when we're talking about data, as I stated, we have data-driven dialogues. 3 times a year we use our collaborative time to have data boards where we look at both reading and math scores, both at the classroom level and as individual students. And something very powerful that we've done for the last 3 years is actually an intervention collaborative sub-out time where each classroom teacher sits down for 90 minutes and is able to look at data with support staff, with coaches, ELD teacher, special education teachers, intervention teachers, and once again we're focusing on looking at the data, the standards that students aren't achieving on, and then making an instructional plan for those students that the teacher can do in small group. And we've seen our level 2 students become level 3 students, and many of our level 1 students meeting standard. So we're very excited about that.
You have to be at level 3 to meet standard.
Right.
Right, right. So,
Man.
yeah, that's a lot.
A lot of work. Lots of hard work.
A lot going on. Well, let's start then first with math. Let's hear a little bit more detail about what you are doing in math.
It was really exciting when the teachers all came back from the math lab. They were anxious to start doing more of the workshop model. When we were doing our school improvement plan, the staff agreed upon having a quick grid skill review every day. So they do 6 to 9 problems every day. They're just quick computation type problems.
Kind of keep their skills up.
Yeah, so that they don't forget some of those things
Right.
they've learned in years past or even just in the past units. Then we also started doing the workshop model, and they do a quick mini lesson, and then they release the students to do guided practice or some explore and discover. And what's really powerful during that time are the teachers are walking around and listening in to student conversations and kind of listening for those misconceptions, and then they'll stop the entire class and bring them together so that they talk about those misconceptions before they're practiced inappropriately.
That's good, yeah.
So it's really kind of nice.
So tell us a little bit about what teachers see when they go to one of our math lab classrooms. What is it they do there?
We do some reading around the best practices of instruction, which the high leverage teaching moves.
Right.
But what's really powerful is that we're able to look at those in a mathematical context, because
with a teacher, with a teacher teaching, right?
with a teacher teaching, we go and we see those in practice,
Right.
and so often we hear about them in literacy,
Right.
but when we try to transpose those into math, it's more difficult, and so it really provides a hands-on visual way for teachers to go, oh, I can do that. I can take this back to my classroom and do it. And we've seen a lot of our teachers really glom onto that.
Because I think our math labs at the elementary level are relatively new, aren't they? We've been doing the literacy labs for...
I think we've been doing 2 years, and this will be our third
maybe
year.
it's the opposite. The literacy labs
Yeah,
are new,
right.
and we started that then again.
This year.
That's right, okay. So we've been doing the math labs, and that worked so well.
That
with-
we've expanded it to literacy.
Right,
so.
okay. So have you been able to observe at one of the lab classrooms, the literacy lab
I
classrooms?
have, yes. We just did our first one in the fall. We went to a 1-2 multi-age classroom and observed the group I was in. Several of our teachers got to go to other schools and see different grade levels, but
Okay.
it was just exciting to see best practices in action and the kids at different levels and the way they meet the needs of all the kids at all those different levels.
Yeah, to actually see the teachers doing
Yes.
it, not just talking about it, but actually getting to see that. So.
Right. And of course, you alluded to it, I think, in the beginning when you were talking about the AYP stuff, but that's because of your results. So let's hear about how the students at Linwood are doing in math with regard to the state measurement of
Well, I
progress.
think the last 2 years we've increased 10%, but from the previous year. So
Each year you've
each
increased.
year we've
Wow, that's
increased by
significant.
10%. So it's really exciting, and I think it's due to our data-driven dialogues and our intervention meetings and setting those specific goals for those students. And then several of our teachers are starting to implement math workshops. So similar to reading independently at your Just Right book, they're sending students out to work on skills they just need practice and need more repetition on, and that frees them up so they can do some small group instruction to close that achievement gap, and I think we've been finding that really successful.
Yeah, actually our scores went up last year on the MSP in mathematics at every grade level, so 3, 4, 5, and 6. They also went up in writing at 4th grade, 5th grade science scores went up, and 2 of our grade levels went up in reading. So it really shows that with focused best practices and then that constant analyzing the data to inform our instruction, we're getting results for our kids.
Well, and that's motivational too. When teachers see the results of that hard work, I think it encourages them too, that they see it paying off, and certainly the beneficiaries are the children who will leave Linwood with much higher skill level than they would have.
I think
So-
goal setting too has been important. Grade levels, pick a goal for their grade. We met 80% this year, so next year we're going to do 85.
Oh wow, now that is
So yeah, that's
And
been
teachers have started doing that with students too, having them set their goal, especially with the MAP testing that our 5th and 6th graders are doing. They're sharing their scores and saying, now what do you think you can make by our next time we do our testing? And then when they reach that goal, they get so excited. And so not only are the teachers excited, but the students are very motivated to keep, I can do this, I can do this.
That's been very powerful, the MAP assessments that we've done for the past 2 years. We did with 6th grade last year and this year with 5th and 6th grade. But teachers get those results instantaneously, so it really is a formative assessment. And as Jan stated, you can sit down one-on-one and they can see their scores and then set goals for themselves. And we've seen tremendous gain in that because there's huge buy-in for our kids. They want to do better and they want to meet the bar and exceed the bar. And so they're really on board and they're really working hard to meet those standards.
I was just going to say, so if we compare Linwood to similar schools with the same kind of demographics, what does Linwood look like?
Linwood is actually outperforming schools both at the state level and in Spokane public schools for the low income cell. And we talk a lot about that, about closing the achievement gap for our kids. And Linwood is a school of 72% free and reduced lunch. So we have a large, when we're looking at the AYP cell, we have a large number of students in that low income cell. And we've done phenomenally well the last 2 years. And we're actually, like I said, outperforming the state when you look at the uniform index bar.
72% is really high, and I think that a lot of people see where Linwood is and just don't think out there on that north edge of Spokane that it would be that high. So
Right.
it's pretty significant.
It is significant.
What are some of the other kind of unique characteristics of Linwood?
Yeah. Excellent.
Well, we have a couple things when we talked that we'd like to share that we think are unique and pretty special for Linwood. We have an after-school program called Camp that runs Monday through Thursday from 3 to 4:15, and it's open to grades 3 through 6. And it's a safe place to do productive things. So we have homework club that runs throughout the year, and children can go and get help with their homework or do some study skills. There's also some sports activities like volleyball and basketball. We run clubs like Weird Science Club or Chess Club, and our kids just love it. And so our working families love it too, because like I said, kids are safe 4 days a week until 4:15, and that really helps our working families.
Is it all grade levels?
It's 3 through 6.
Okay.
Right. The other thing that's unique to Linwood is that we're so excited about is we just started a 3-year partnership with the Northwest Museum of Arts and Culture around visual thinking strategies, or VTS.
Yeah.
So it's our first year, and we are loving it. What it looks like is we have artwork in the classrooms, and teachers facilitate a discussion, and students are able to analyze the artwork and discuss it. So they're using both evidence from what they see, and then they're also using their prior experience and background knowledge. And what we've noticed is that some of our students that are sometimes apprehensive to jump in maybe a math congress and share their thinking, there's no right or wrong answers when they're looking at art, and so we get 100% of the kids joining in on those conversations. And we've also noticed that it's really a socially justice practice, because students are sharing their background and their experiences, and we're listening to other people's opinions and beliefs and being accepting to those.
And it's all done through the world of art.
It is all done through the world of art. So, and our kids in grades 2 through 6 will be going to the museum for a field trip this year. So we're very excited. We have 2 more years with the MAC, and it's been great.
And those questioning strategies that they're practicing with the VTS are generalized into the math. We practice them in math, and so the Math Congress helps, and I think in the literature.
That does sound like a lot of fun.
It does. So it's VTS is visual thinking
Strategies.
strategies. Right.
Right.
And I've seen it modeled. I went to the MAC once and watched one of their presentations and was really impressed by how open-ended the questions are, and how skilled the teacher has to be at trying to keep it open-ended so students continue to want to contribute answers. It's pretty amazing to watch. So,
is Linwood one of our smaller schools?
We have about 430 students at Linwood.
So kind of in the middle there.
It's kind
as
of in
far
the
as
middle,
elementary goes. Much mobility, or?
We have about 32% mobility, so about a third of our kids come and go throughout the year, so pretty high mobility. And we have lots of languages spoken. A couple years ago we had 13 languages spoken. I think we're down to 7 languages, so a very diverse community of learners.
Right.
Primarily what is the language?
Spanish. Marshallese is our #1 language spoken, and then we have
And
several
that's true
students.
across the district too, that Marshallese now is the #1 language.
And then we have several students from the Congo recently, and they speak Swahili, French, and
Portuguese.
Kinyarwanda, and Portuguese.
Oh
So
my
they speak
goodness.
4 or 5 languages.
That's great.
You know, I think that's a part of Spokane that people really don't recognize. Totally, our families speak over 56 different languages in Spokane Public Schools.
Yes.
That's just absolutely amazing. So what's your goal for the next MSP assessment? What are you looking to do?
20% would be great. Yeah, we're shooting the bar high. Actually, each of our grade levels sat down and made goals, and they're all at 80 or 90%, which we would love to have, and that's in our school improvement plan. So that's what we're shooting for.
Good. Well, they say that bold goals are really important in getting people focused and creating energy. So.
And we just have a minute or so left, so if there's anything else you'd like to share about Linwood or about math and literacy, please do so. We're excited to be able to share our good news with our community.
Well,
when we
I
have
think
these shows.
Linwood should be complimented for the hard work and for the success then that you've had as a result of that. And it's really clear you're trying new strategies, and your teachers are willing to go along with you to the math labs and to the literacy labs, and willing to stretch and grow. I think that's very positive.
I think we talk a lot about professional learning communities, and that's one of the things that I'm most proud of at Linwood. Is I truly think that we are a professional learning community because our teachers care about kids. They have high expectations for kids, and they're willing to learn new things, just like VTS. They embraced it. They want to do whatever they can to make kids succeed. And I think that's Linwood's a great place to be because of that, because of the hardworking teachers that we have and staff and support staff.
And they're also very friendly and outgoing, and a really nice environment for students and staff to work in. They do a great job.
You have convinced me. I want to come to Linwood. Well, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us on this edition of School Talk.